Hi. Having been away for 4 weekends of doing pre-recordings, in that time I had not had my fingers on the pulse in terms of doing sessions and seeing where things are going. So I was rather interested to see what is going to show up when I do start doing sessions again. While I was away in Greece with Greeks, it was a timelessness. There is a timelessness there, and I have experienced it before when being there. But I'm kind of glad I was in that timelessness and I wasn't in the pulse of it, so to speak, because coming back and doing sessions, the shift is on a whole different level. So I'm going to share it with you today on a whole different level what seems to be asked of how we are. And I'm going to call it the unknown known. And the unknown known has a huge trust in it because the unknown known really doesn't come from mind. And the habits over this lifetime, many lifetimes, really core triggers from childhood that are still being minded are not working anymore. A huge surrender and relief is required to move forward, while at the same time recognizing and being in connection to all that may come our way, because that is the offer, that is the excitement, that is the spark that can come alive in us. Because those who don't have a spark won't have viability. So through worry, concern, pushing, pressuring, efforting, I'm going to fix it, I have to be on top of it, it's mind. And mindless is not intelligent. There is a sense of really being in touch, not out of the triggers and the panic and what the media or any information wants you to be concerned about, to drop all of that away. And then the mind is in the driver's seat. It's very, very useful as a servant, and it has to find that place. And in the unknown known, because the mind unknowing, the known comes through. And the known has an immense trust in it. All of this showed up in so many different facets. I might not cover them all, but I'll see how far we get in the flow of it. The first session, having come back, was again to do with childhood and how we are, and there's nothing wrong with being other focused. But I do find when we are authentically ourselves, by default, everyone benefits. We don't have to agree with everyone. And no is not a negative word. In fact, yes has no value if no is not part of what we choose to be sovereign in. Sovereignty ultimately is the ability to say, no, that's gone too far, no, only to here, because you can be incredibly generous to the point where yes becomes making you a doormat, unless that yes is authentically yours. So what showed up in this session was this immense productivity, and it's like this immense productivity felt couldn't find a home to go to, and it became problematic on a physical and not feeling oneself kind of way. In fact, there was a pain felt behind the heart. What showed up was that to be productive is actually it's not an external element. It's that deep aspect in self that is productive, even in silence, even in non-activity. It's finding a home within that has no doubt that you're productive. It's removing itself from the Protestant ethics of, idle hands are not good, you must always be doing something, blah, blah, blah. And, that may have served the industrial complex or whatever others want you to do. There's a lot of productivity in sitting silently and observing and wondering. The beautiful thing that showed up in this session was when all of this kind of found its place. It came up with to check a bush essence, and it didn't so much come up with a bush essence except a page in the descriptions of the bush essences, and it went to companion essence, and what it was wanting to share was in the field and the vibrational energies around you, you have many companions. And those companions love to be around you because of this productivity of how you love life, how you allow things to come in, how you can sit and ponder the essence of these companions that are there in communion with her in this life. And I don't doubt we all have that. It's that, are we silent enough to connect with these things and to allow the play to come in? You'll never feel alone once that arrives. Another facet of what showed up is someone who has always kind of wanted things to be resolved, not really being patient, and really troubled when things take time and they don't fall in place. It's like being in this world and wanting it to be over so I can relax. And that element has been playing out quite a long time. And what happened this time was it came with an energy of, it's done. It's done. And between the wanting, the anxiousness of I want it now, and I want it to be done, there's a gap in the middle, which means to stay in the place of knowing the doneness, and then meet each stage, regardless of what shows up. The knowing of it's done is never taken away, and that's how we bring into presence what we carry as done on the inside, and that middle section was missing. Then there was the childhood element of, which, quite a few people have this actually, and sometimes this comes from circumstances in childhood, and sometimes it comes from the being that comes in the world just happens to be serious. They're serious. They're adults before the adult comes along. That child play, that sense of opening and wonder and and exploration and playing into who you are is taken away by the seriousness. And what is showing up, and what I really, really want to convey in this sharing more than anything else, is the unknown known. We're in a space at the moment where things are so fluid that participating in the creative process of it, that is not angry, that is not serious, but is joyfully here in the opening of all that comes our way, so that we can fully be sovereign and express ourselves with whatever comes our way. And being authentic in that will bring about all of that that does not repeat history. It brings anew a way of being that is so refreshing and so in community, allowing others to have opinions. We all have opinions. That's all we have. It's opinions. We create with our opinions. And different opinions is a healthy thing. Whether I like purple or green, they're both healthy. There's nothing to fight over there. But to realize it sounds bizarre, there is nothing to fix, there is nothing to fight over. There is just the authenticity of being yourself. Because the people I did see this weekend were very, very, very in mind. We are so in wanting to fix things up or wanting things to be seen in a particular way. And if all of that is let go of, because a lot of these things are decisions, we decide about worrying. And we can care about others, but worrying about others doesn't help anyone. And this worrying is terribly upsetting. And what it does, it pulls energy down. And we're in a time where it hasn't got time. It hasn't got energy for that negativity of not seeing yourself in a good light or not seeing others in a good light, because the unknown known is a new place. It is a new place, and it is here. But it will not tolerate negativity. Others may call you negative, but if you're clear in yourself about what that is, then it isn't. It's just others will claim that it is. It's like Spirit wants to see itself. It wants itself to be known, seen, and to express itself. And in doing that, it doesn't feel negative. It does not want to be dominated by mind. Two very interesting aspects showed up. Both were very similar, different in its actions, but very, very similar in what may be happening for you as well. Hopefully for me as well. I think it is probably universal at the moment. There's the best way to describe it is, there's an aspect, let's say 3D, here we are in 3D. But we expand our energies, we can access the other dimensions. And what was showing up is that all of this was there, but there are some who are stretching on their toes and reaching up and pressurizing themselves to bring the next bit in. And it's this area around here that is the unknown known, that we as individuals and collectively are bringing in through the light that we are, the presence of not being positive, but to be in a space that allows, that doesn't try to fix, just stands in the okayness of it. Whatever shows, it is to have it as okay. To fight is to bring it more into focus, and sometimes it's not worth bringing into focus unless it really needs to, through the kindness of unity together, to be able to talk something through, but in the tone of where we both can feel what that discussion is, rather than bring the mind in and fight it and go against it. In fact, one being that I saw, it was very interesting how what was next coming in was unknown, but when it does arrive, to actually speak it, whether others can hear it or not, and to hear it, to speak it in a way that this is what I am seeing at the moment and how I am interacting with what's coming through, and to share it, whether it's going to be understood or not for an argument, but for to say, I'm going to leave that with you. This is not an argument, I'm saying how I see it. And then people will, because there's no force in it, people will ponder or not. But in that process, eventually the authenticity in self and what is able to arrive becomes clearer and clearer and clearer. And in that way, this comes into existence. This comes into existence. We're in the process. We don't know what this is, but it has arrived and it's coming through. Now, what showed up with these beings was, one, had lifetime after lifetime, there had been this feeling of fighting for, pressuring for, and the good cause and the pressure for it to be seen, for it to be heard, but there was pressure behind it. When in fact, when we let the mind go, this field here is the most normal thing in the world. And when that fell into place, there was a ricocheting of taking the pressure away from the history. And as it released going out, it also opened up the energies in the future. And the other being, again, was to do with pressure, to have to get things done, to have to be on top of it, and this pushing and arguing for, and people not listening to, and why isn't it done now? Because the speed in which this being operates is very efficient. It gets things done. And the pressure was taken away because this being is so efficient, the being can do it calmly. It doesn't have to use a whip. And putting the whip down and feeling it as normal and starting to see it as normal and starting to see what needs to be in place for it to be even more normal and even more relaxed for myself and everyone else around me became a new way of seeing it. And it literally felt like the atom bomb going off, where it just went off and it radiated out and completely cleared that energy away. And I've actually heard back from this being saying they're so calm and everything has slow down and feels peaceful, and there's no pressure around. That's quite wonderful. So when we're operating with others, there can be very different ways of going about things. There was someone actually who had very clear ideas over here as to what needed to be put in place. But the process they were working with in the others was this sense of you have to drill it down to a specific point. But this new energy that is around is really about looking at a creative download of what is possible that hasn't yet been possible, but there's a sense of what may be possible. This energy here had lots of possibilities, but they're dialoguing with somebody who's operating down here. And when that happens, it takes time. And they are occasionally asking questions, and it's only when the question is asked that any input can be given. Extremely frustrating over here, because there really is no dialogue. But in time, this here may translate to here, and then to here, and then to here. And we're talking about a huge organisation here. So new ways are coming in, individually, in large organisations, and to stay open to the unknown, and at the same time hold that centre of knowing it will work out. It sounds weird, but there's nothing to fix other than to remain authentically yourself. And in that process, your life will move in that direction. And process actually was the card that showed up. So allow and enjoy the process of your life without rushing to the goal. Experiences are part of the journey. You don't have to understand them all to enjoy the process. Now is the time to look at how you approach and do things. Perhaps make some changes for what worked for you in the past that may not necessarily be the best process for the future. And the card that was pulled as I was leaving for the weekend, because I was testing up whether it was an essence or a card or whatever that needed to be here today for you, was caring. It's time to care for you. Lovingly take pleasure in your positive attributes. Do not deny your needs. Take care of yourself. Caring for others must be backed up by doing what is needed for yourself first, so that you are able to continue caring. Your guides are watching over you at this time. You are cared for and loved. People who go into wanting to fix things can often make things worse. You can look at the world for that. How many people are trying to fix things? Be yourself, and by default, all will benefit. Much love.